Teresa, I'm putting you on the spot this morning. Yay!
Oh, way cool. Everyone, I have a sneeze coming on, so hopefully it'll wait just a few more seconds. There's a pressure point right here that you can push a little dent on whatever side you're going to sneeze, and sometimes that helps you to get rid of it. But welcoming our Spirit Sessions family in this morning, giving hugs out, giving everybody a little bit of white sage here. Welcoming you in. We've got Bex Marie from New Hampshire. We got Rhonda from Canada. And today, our wonderful guest who we met the other day with the most beautiful, positive, forward moving energy is Kirsten Hodgins. Today, what impressed me about her so much was her understanding of the empath and what it is now that you awaken and you're an empath and you know you want to move on. She is able to help you in each and every one of these areas, and to go your furthest, to help you reach the stars, the dreams, everything that you inspire to. So I just loved her energy. Kirsten, welcome to the show.
Oh, I am so honored to be here. Thank you.
Kirsten, you do so much. Can you give us a little what you are? We know you're a psychic medium and a hypnotherapist and a coach. Can you tell us a little bit more how you identify yourself? And you're a Canadian and you're from Toronto, so you're just like a neighbor up the road. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Welcome.
If that's an interesting, because I, putting those modalities on how I support people, those are just tools, right? Tools in your toolbox. But literally it's helping people to become awake and empowered. And I do that through, I'm an expert at unveiling the function of the ego, because being that unhealthy empath as a child and as my young adult life, I really overcame a lot of the struggles and the unhealthy boundaries and fear of being seen, being heard, so that I can actually help others to really trust their soul, to unveil who they truly are without being labeled, and getting over the conditions of who we believe we are. And I know that a lot of people who come to these to your channel are spiritually open minds, so they might even completely get the fact that there's always this inner calling, this resonance of a greater, more higher consciousness of divine or God or the universe or source energy or whatever we call that. So many of the people who I support are shifting into that awakening, and they're going through the journey of knowing who they are as a soul beyond the conditioned mind.
That's really, it's so helpful to have someone that understands. I know Teresa was feeling a little bit of a funk the other day, and just your energy was enough to just bring her up a couple of notches.
What you did, I want to stop for just a second, Rhonda. For real, I was in because I have bipolar, whatever, right? But so I was in a depression, and I've already known when I come to the depressions, I like to get to where I could be neutral, where I could be receptive to my guides, because really it's just overwhelm that's happening to me. But after listening to you and how you talked about the ego, because I always believed my ego was my friend, but my ego's my overprotective friend. It's my friend that's like, oh my gosh, there's too many things to worry about, just hide away. And so helping me see that the struggle, that I was really just fine inside. I was just listening a little too much to my overactive friend here, and you helped me see that. So, here I am blooming again. So thank you, Rhonda.
No, that was great. And thank you for being so vulnerable. Teresa, it's always so wonderful when you're so authentic, and we love you for that. And it always shows up. We have some friends from all over the U.S. and from South Africa today, and it's lovely to see Sherry and Nancy here and Kareth. It's wonderful. Oh, Nancy says she's sure she's in the right place today too. Yay. So your 3 keys to intuitive awakening. What, like, I know when I was a kid, I remember sitting in the cottage beside my aunt who was from the States, and she had a whole bunch of books on being a psychic and psychic, it was paranormal stuff back in the 60s. And I'm thinking, oh, I would really like to be psychic. I would really want to be psychic. So I thought I could just will myself to be psychic. I didn't know that we all are to start with. But I just thought that's a weird thing for this morning. I thought that's a weird thing for a kid to wish for, not a pony, just to be psychic.
For sure, too. I think that's actually pretty common.
Is it really? Did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
I wanted that. But I still
about
wanted
you,
the
Kirsten?
pony, though. But yeah.
Me too.
I agree, because that's a lot of the cases when people come to me, they're having those openings, they're at a place in their life when they're secure enough. You know how we have this, we're always in the survivor mode when we're in fear, when we're trying to pay the rent and get the tax, do all those things. We don't often explore the emotional realm of desire. So that usually comes in our second field of energy, which is our root chakra. When we feel safe and planted and grounded just enough, we can begin to open up to that second energy center, which is the sacral. It's the desires, the yearning, and the knowing, the emotional aspects of desires, right? But most people who often go on this, and this is probably my journey, is when I began to have more stability in my finances and I was feeling secure. I started to take courses. I started to get out there.
Yeah.
And that's where most people, either their kids are growing up, they are leaving the house, or they're changing careers. Whenever they find that second chakra open space, they have more of an inner balance, they begin to seek and ponder. You don't have to have your life in order to be a psychic medium. Everybody is a child of God, a soul. And what we don't have to also, there's so many people in my life that are so intuitive and connect with divine, but they don't use the language. They don't even call for their angels or things like that. They just have a natural soul alignment. But there's three things most people seek intuitive awakening. They're all seeking the same things. It's that divine connection. Often it's like, who am I, right? Am I supported? Am I safe? Can I experience peace? All those fundamental needs that we have, they seek divine. They look outside of themselves because they struggle to find that comfort in their current circumstances. The second thing is they trust. They want to have trust in divine. They want to know that the universe has their back. They want to know that that they can actually trust their own intuitive decision-making processes. And that when they get signs and synchronicities, is it my loved one? Like, they're all seeking that trust in divine, that higher part. And the third thing is that people who are seeking intuitive discernment, the third and most profound reason is they want to learn the language of their soul. They want to know, how can I communicate? How can I have that? I used to hear people say, oh, my guides are telling me this. And I used to be so admiring, like, how do they hear their guides when I was really young? Or they would used to say, I just feel like this is what I'm meant to be. And you can't argue with them. They just know it in their gut. And I'm like, I so want to know that language of my soul and how to discern that. And so that's the journey. That's the quest. Those are the three seeking quests that most people are unveiling. And it's really the journey of really knowing who you are on a soul level. It's that awakening journey. And those are the three reasons people come to me in my courses. And then I'm not going to jump ahead, but I would love to get into the three keys, but just let me know if you want to summarize or add anything that I said to my belief that those are the quests that most people seek.
And it sort of sounds like those are the quests that back relate to your root chakra, trying to be that secure person in yourself. So like you said, like, you have to grow from there once you're secure in where you are and what you're doing, no matter what. Some people are born with it and they're fine, just going on from there. But most natural, most instinctual is like, we have to be safe, we have to be fed, we have to be clothed, we have to feel trusted. So it would be lovely if we were all born without, that worry. And I think that's why do you think that's why when we're little and we're not aware of, like, the bank balance and everything else, that we can trust our gifts more?
Absolutely, because we have less identification over the years. We're not accumulating conditioned mindset. And I think it's by the time we're 7, I believe neuroscientists have mapped out the way the brain develops. But I totally get what you're saying, because that's exactly when I was younger. You kind of know better than the parent, but you just don't know how to give meaning to it. You're kind of in this dazed confusion, and you just get that spirit connection. A lot of the people, the children who I support as empaths, have these beautiful gifts, but they're not nurtured. They're said, oh, because of fear, we shut it down. I totally get that. Yeah. And then and I love to add to this, because once we are in a place that we're feeling that safe and secure, we begin to open up into the second chakra, which is our desires, but then we move up into the third chakra. And if we don't have a good solid identity as for our willpower, if we're wavering in who we think we are and we're playing small versus plugging into the truth and stepping up, and, we have a lot of limited beliefs and old paradigms that keep us from rising into those higher consciousness states. And as we open up, and that could block us from keeping an open heart. And that is one of the most profound things that we could do as a light, as any human on this earth, as we're learning love and compassion, to move out of fear into love. So if we're struggling to feel safe, and we don't want to be rejected, and we're holding on to past, we're restricting our energy field in that capacity to open up our heart to be that oneness that we all seek. We all seek peace and love, right? So yes, as we incrementally move up and heal and balance those polarities, we can become that higher conscious. We can be a pure channel to divine. Absolutely.
Do you think one of the biggest things that we struggle with, no matter who we are, is that we're good enough just the way we are?
Absolutely. Worthiness. It's
Worthiness.
worthiness and deservedness.
I can't have these gifts. I can't have that connection because I'm not worthy. Like, who am I? I've done this bad stuff in the past. Yeah. I haven't learned enough. I haven't done whatever, I didn't brush my teeth today, whatever. I'm not worthy for those connections.
And you just moved into the first key, perception. Absolutely, Rhonda. Exactly. It's all about, it's that myth. It's the myth that God, source energy, is outside of me, that we often depict, and I think Caroline Myss says this well. She says, we all picture God having this big beard on some out of planet world looking down on us. And, so we're having this fear-based belief in separation, but really we know, all of us here and those probably who are listening, that it's within. That oneness is a journey to go within, and we mute ourselves. We don't feel safe. We have to stay strong and survive. And we feel separate. We have that polarity of experiencing, I don't feel supported, I don't feel connected, I don't feel safe, versus really having that perception of knowing who you truly are, that you are a co-creator, that how you feel and how you think will actually dictate the course of your life, and how you perceive yourself is how you will give meaning to the world and create your experiences. So your perception is the first fundamental, it's the first key to begin to open up. And so does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you channel too?
I love to channel. Writing, when I sit in front of someone, I do an opening prayer, and I really invite those archangels. I ask all beings of love and light. I really do ask them to come in. And how I channel is through all through my metaphysical senses, through what I see, hear, feel, know, smell, and taste. Because perception is also how we experience divine uniquely. And channeling, we all have the capacity. What's interesting is, I never knew this until I was working with mentors. And do you know that every modality out there, Akashic records, which is beautiful, which is very profound in healing our, the trauma of past lives. This is gorgeous. Like, so many beautiful modalities out there: energy healing, crystal, angel card readings, whatever, tarot, ruins. That it's the fundamental basis is all divine communication is providing that perception through our internal uniqueness, our soul, on how we see, hear, feel, know, smell, taste. Mm-hmm. We are bringing that into everything that we open up to be of service. And I think that's this language of the soul, which is exactly what we're all perceiving. We're opening up to learn, not the language of how we see things in our physical environment and how what we know from our past or what we've experienced or who we think we are. Those are limiting perspectives, right? But it's the internal connection with our metaphysical perceptions, which is a part of that perception, how we perceive. We're all unique, right? We're also unique in how our third eye works. We're also unique in how we actually experience divine. And so I actually, not to get away because I'm looking at the time, I teach this in 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, time's relative, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
So,
I love that, like, you think about it, and it really is learning, or not learning, but remembering the language of the divine.
Yeah.
And so for all of us, we have become divine translators. You know, that's how we hold space for others and help them to also awaken that ability in themselves. And it's really cool to think of it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the wonderful thing when we do hold that space, exactly what you're saying. We practice that, we experience oneness because we see ourselves in others. And it's just such a divine thing to be able to recognize that it doesn't have to be the person that looks like me or talks like me or is the same age. It could be a male 65-year-old retiree who I completely connect with, because on some level we are all one and we feel into their story, even though we have a different story around it. We feel their emotions. We feel absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So how do you, I guess the first thing that pops in my head is for those who have been stuck in, you know, maybe destructive perceptions, have been programmed with destructive perceptions. How do you help them break that so that they can open up to the divine perception, to the truth?
Absolutely. So the first thing that we do is we take a look at whatever is coming up for them. So if they're working on knowing who they are, and there's a contrast between, the number one way is have it like, what is it that they're cultivating? If they're cultivating this sense of I want to open up and know what my guides are saying, then we start to explore, why do you believe you're not one? Who do you feel you are? I had this one. So as an example from my own personal life, cultivating that ability that I deserve, I am a channel, that it is safe and it is loving and it's not to be condemned, and I'm not going to go to hell from it, like all those old belief systems that were riding from old religions, right? So those are some of the stuff that might come up. There's thousands of personal limited beliefs from an old paradigm that I work with people on in my program. So for me, it was, I would open that light as a people pleaser, as somebody who wanted to be of service, and it felt so good. And I had such reverence for divine. It felt so like sacred to me, but I struggled to connect and have healing and guidance for myself. I would put on the back burner. I wouldn't trust it because I still had to work on my deservedness, that I too deserved healing. I too was loved and supported by God. So that's a massive one that we all have, is that we can hold it for others, but what about us?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I know a lot of my students, and I struggle with it too. Well, why don't you do Reiki on yourself? Well, because it's not, or it's part of it's like giving yourself a massage. It's just not the same as getting a massage.
Less effective, right?
But part of it's like, no, I need to give my power away so somebody else can do what I can do already.
And that's exactly it. That's the second key, which is all about our energy. Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah. Sure.
And what do you believe? What are two precious resources that we've been given in this life?
Time.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah. And the other one is
energy.
Connection.
Yes. Yeah. It's the source energy that life itself, we are connected in one. That's the life itself courses through us. It beats our heart. It grows our hair and nails. It's nature. It has this innate abundance ability, but yet we don't see ourselves as we see ourselves separate. So that source energy is, we don't even have that reverence and sacredness for our energy management, for checking in and listening to those internal and external ways in which life shows up and wants to live through us. And we discard it and think, oh, well, I can't do that. The circumstances of my life have power over me, or these things have power over me. Boundary issues, right? How we wield our energy is in unuseful ways, but we are so powerful. So, and time, time is because we've been given so many, so much time here on this earth. And if we're stuck in those and we're not awakening, and if we're not opening up to that greater part of who we are, then we're just living. I have a coach that always used to say, you're living the same 99 years the same, or you could live 99 years different and propel and awaken. And that's the evolution, right? Is to know pain and suffering. So not getting out of, but yeah, I absolutely agree with the energy and time.
And time is something, I know we can create it to a certain degree, but we waste so much of it on stupid stuff.
I
on
love
the same
it.
dumb thoughts.
Yeah, and it's not that we're time challenged, it's we're energy challenged. So can I lead you through a bit of an example for those who are listening and watching this back? If we're not conscious of how we're leaking our energy, giving our power away, then we're actually a puppet on a string in our environment, and we are not aligned with our soul. We are not connected with our truth. We are living in a falseness of identity and fear, right? So if you're feeling those things that you were sharing, that you and Rhonda had that conversation about, where you were feeling like you had a lot to do, and you kind of go into this, when you're frustrated, it becomes sadness. When you have all these emotions, we're not unmuting it. So we often think our way through, or we're thinking into the future, right? So it's all in one it's like the natures of our body are our physical nature, emotional nature, our mind nature, soul nature, and then there's higher consciousness. But we often just operate in one of those natures, in our push and struggle thoughts or ego. But your ego, as you have said, is can be your friend, and it wants the same thing. It wants peace, it wants joy, it wants happiness. But to align it is to become conscious of where we're giving our energy away to. So the very first simple thing is, this isn't just done at yoga. This isn't just done, when you sit down for meditation once a day. This is what a lot of mindset and spiritual coaches highly recommend, is creating. Do you want a quality life? Create quality habits that self-nudge you. So that means that we have to begin to check in whenever there's a resistance happening within us, that polarity of there's a contrast between life as it is and what soars in my heart. Sometimes that contrast gets so lost that we don't even know what soars in our heart. We're so cut off that it goes into the dark night of the soul. So that means you've waited too long. So you really want to catch it whenever you are not feeling like you are plugged in and tuned into your power, when you're giving your power away, whenever you feel an emotion that is not peace, literally. So if it's 70 times a day, 100 times a day, then you want to self-nudge yourself and say, wow, how do I feel in this moment? Where can I unmute and go into the emotional guidance system that I have been gifted with, this one source energy, where I could plug into the mind of the infinite, where I'm just stuck in the mind of my intellect, right? So how we do that is you literally just take a pause and just map out the sensations in your body. Most people don't give themselves permission to feel how they're feeling during the day because they have to survive. I don't have time to feel. I got to be strong. I got to be tough.
On autopilot, right?
Right. Absolutely. Great way of saying it. So at least just give yourself an opportunity to observe the sensations. And if you're experiencing peace right now, then or if you have some energy that you were wanting to tap into that's undercurrent, it's always there, but you haven't addressed it. Allow it to just become conscious, acknowledge it through not trying to, spiritual bypass and start to say affirmations. Oh, no, we really do want to acknowledge it, because mapping it out gives you permission. When people don't know how they're feeling, and it's surprising how many people cannot articulate what they feel in the moment. And that's the first question I ask my coach when I'm coaching is, how do you feel? What one word? How do you feel? And they struggle. So then I take a step back and I say, where in your body are you feeling sensations? And often it's pressure on the shoulder, they would say, a tightness in their solar plexus in their stomach. Can you just feel anything out? And as you map it, you're literally allowing that energy to be experienced. And then it's literally having a communication with it and saying, what are you saying? And what do you need? And often it's, I seek peace. I'm too busy. And then you can start having that internal connection with yourself. What do you need? Where am I giving my power away to? Am I showing up at the biggest, best version of myself? We need to start having a conversations with ourselves, with our soul.
Yay. Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
I wonder if anybody else got a so true says.
Then we
Gina.
can create those boundaries. Then we can say, well, I have to get uncomfortable and speak up because this is not serving me. That's where we could. Now, often we know what we can do. We know that we're feeling shame because we keep emotionally eating. We know that we keep falling off the cart or not doing things. But it's if we keep on acknowledging it, but not being in our power to take action, then we do need to cultivate the support, the environment, and we have to be able to look at what we're attached to and what's triggering it. So we could become conscious. A lot of people who go on this spiritual path, it is work. It is, not all blissful and peaceful. And you're not going to go like you can go into retreats and mountains and have a lovely time. But there is a lot of emotions that we often judge as unwanted and bad, but emotions is just information. So that's my biggest tip on doing this energy management is know that it's just information. It's your soul leading you back into your truth and into your life purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. And those, we should look at those emotions as those clues to where we're not on the right track.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're feeling resentment, why? Is it because I'm, like you say, giving your power away and you'll do stuff for people and then you become resentful because you really didn't want to do it, but you thought you had to, being on autopilot.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's what clarity is. You know how to have clarity on the path ahead? Is exactly what you're talking about. It's knowing the work you got to do to get there. Well, wow, I have this resistance. I'm deadbeat job sucking the soul out of me. My health is failing. Those are signposts. And that's what we have to put down as our evolution list, I call it. Because this is the stuff that's going to get me out of this ego and into a life plugged into my purpose. Because even your baby step of taking care of your self-care is a part of our journey. Most people who are dealing with sense of lack of self-worth, like that if you are having struggles with, you're noticing you're craving, the repetitive thinking is, oh, I wish I had time to myself. Oh, I've got so much to do. Well, your life purpose is, your evolution list is learn how to value and self-care because it's self-love, because you're rejecting yourself. So that would be the smallest step on your path to unveiling your fully realized self. If we start to do that, guess what happens? We open up the door for other beautiful, like other epiphanies to become. Once you start to pull back the energy and align yourself, people support you. People start to back up. People start to energetically treat you different. That's exactly what happened to me when I was overgiving. When I started to claim back my energy, when I started to do boundaries, when I started to step up and it was uncomfortable, I literally created a whole different environment, and people who supported me and those who weren't on alignment kind of faded away. So that is an example of what happens. We signpost leading you towards your biggest version. That's where I started to get out there as a speaker teacher. If I didn't do those small baby steps, that evolution list, people say my life purpose, it's supposed to be like writing a book and being on Oprah's show. No, it's literally start where you are, start at the beginning.
So do you think it's the ego? Like, I know one of the problems besides I'm not worthy is it's connected to that is we don't ask for help. We don't ask for help from other people. We don't ask for help for our mate. We don't ask for help for our angels. And they're just like waiting for us to ask them. Is that we don't feel we're worthy to ask for help? Or is it our ego saying, you don't need those people?
You could have conditioned mind that it's selfish. Could have a conditioned mind that you got this. I could do this on my own. You're so used to going into your willpower and being a soul survivor. I used to pride myself on being independent. to a fault. So I was the last one that would finally be on my knees saying, God, I surrender. Yeah.
Yeah. My conditioned programming was, don't be a burden.
Yeah.
You know, don't ask for help because you don't want to be a burden. People have enough going on. They don't need your crap too, you know, and that was always, I still struggle with it. You know, it's something that I actively, you know,
Vulnerability.
notice.
Vulnerability to be seen weak, to not be a team player,
Mhm.
to show up. And, you know, you really want to, that's exactly vulnerability. And that's one of the biggest things about what might come up on your evolution list when you check in with your inner being is, I'm not speaking my truth. I'm not letting people really see into me because I'm afraid to be rejected and to not fit in.
Mhm.
And that's one of the biggest burdens that we carry, is trying to appease and be that we're living through the agenda of everybody else
Mhm.
Yeah.
instead of our own path.
Our perceived agenda, because nobody
Right.
thinks of us that much.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I always said to my kids, nobody really cares about you. And that sounds awful, but don't worry so much about what other people think, because we're like Venn diagrams. The only time they ever think of you is that little time we intersect and we're in their world and they're in their, because everybody's in their own world. And the only time we really affect them is when we actually physically affect them one way or another. They don't care about us that much.
Mhm.
But again, there's what Christ said is like, ask and you shall receive, and blessed are those who are the people who give, right? So if you don't ask and you never are able to receive, then you're keeping a whole bunch of people from
Being
helping,
able to-
you know.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
that's exactly what a lot of these light workers that I'm supporting now as a light workers business coach are coming in, and they're struggling to really have that deservedness of being out there receiving money. They are often struggling to validate that what they have within them is worth receiving, the law of circulation. So I help them to see it as just be a service, just open up. So the prayer that we did prior to going live today was about us just opening up, getting out of our own ego of forcing a conversation, but just to open up and really being of service from what we're divinely guided. So that's part of channeling, right? Instead of coming from your intellect. And often when we get stuck in our business, we look at things in the physical, we material, and we get into our intellect instead of leading from our soul, because it's so different. Everyone is our highest authority. And I could go off on this, but literally it's a law of circulation, like give and you shall receive. It's like I went on a massive journey learning all the laws I could in terms of attraction and principles. And one of the stories that was so cool is we have to be able to, you know, the wood stove says, we're saying, oh, we're cold, give us heat. But the wood stove is going to say, well, put a log in and then I'll generate heat and then you'll be warm. So it's almost like we have to be able to give in order to get, but we also receive in the giving. And there's another quote that I heard. It's the giver of the rose, that the rose lingers on the hand of the giver. Right. So it's like we have, and I don't know who said that, but it's such a beautiful way to understand that law of circulation, that it's a give and take. It's really about not just us receiving or us just giving. It's a balance. And whatever comes up for those light workers, it's an old paradigm that's causing you an imbalance of financial abundance and soul attraction of clients. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So can we review the first two keys and then we'll get into the third one? Just so anybody who's popping on, they can just hear again what the first two are, and then we can.
Yeah. Divine connection, knowing that the three keys, that's the reasons. Perception, having that perception of knowing absolutely who you are and perceiving the way in which you uniquely, the language of your soul, connect with divine. And that discernment, being able to really open up and understand that your intuitive trust in the divine got your back, and discernment that how you feel, it's safe to feel yourself because it's your emotional guidance system. And so That's the summary. And then going into the third key is our ability to discern and trust ourselves, which is all about external and internal metaphysicals, and how if you really are becoming conscious and you're nudging and you're managing your energy and you're showing up and experiencing your internal guidance system, even if you don't understand how to articulate it, start with just mapping out the sensations, because then you're going to understand those layers of sensations. You ever get those internal, imagine going to an interview, and the discernment piece is, imagine that you are feeling nervous about being judged. It's in your solar plexus. It's where you identify with yourself.
That's
And
why
it's your
everybody
power
loves
center.
it.
Yeah. So you can experience, and then what if it's a joy energy of great laughter and excitement? That energy still in the solar plexus is going to change and layer into a different sensation and area in your organs and in your body. What if it's anger? What if it's, all those things? So how we can discern is start to just become conscious and allow your understanding by asking, what is it saying? And what does it need? That's literally discerning and coming awake to those internal guidance system. There's external, where if we're not paying attention to what our thoughts are, where our repetitive emotions are, then we get synchronicities, signs externally. That's when a lot of people see numbers, right? See numbers and coins and signs like that.
Others, yeah.
Yeah. And just to finish off this point, it's going from discernment means that you are overcoming your understanding of illusions on separation and fear. And you're moving into incrementally and understanding. And this is not a linear journey. Our evolution is like boop, 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 boop.
Like a heartbeat. Yeah.
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 Absolutely. To be one, to understand who we are. And that is literally the 3 keys of becoming intuitive and becoming awake. And of course, there's so much more in this. So we could only give what we can today. But yeah.
So awesome. What a great,
Amazing information.
very good information. Yeah. Everybody will love that. Thank you so much. It's so great to have you here. So when you, okay, I'm just going to go back to when you figured out you were a psychic medium. How did you figure that out? What sensations did you have? Like, do you see dead people or do you hear
Paranormal.
them?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Paranormal activity in my house. I lived in an old farmhouse, and I was always very an empath. I could feel the emotions of everyone, and I didn't know the meaning to it. Being so young, you don't know the story that is with it. You just feel overwhelmed. I would hide in the closet and cry or have anxiety. And my parents didn't know what was happening, but I can sense energy in the room. I had, anyway, so that was one of the first things. I had premonitions. I had paranormal activity that was spirit knew, and they were communicating with me, but I didn't have any support to understand it. A lot of cool things. So that's how, but then I got into high school, got into boys, and, being an empath, I hit it. I wanted to fit in, and I didn't want my friends to think I was a strange woo-woo. And I always felt like I had to hide a big part of me. And then as I got older and I discovered that I began to release a lot of limited beliefs and I began to step into who I am, I couldn't turn back. Once you're on that path, there's no turning back. And it just led me here to now support other empaths, support other light workers.
Yeah, because a lot of people, like Teresa, thought she was just not mentally stable a lot because she was so empathic. Because and
Yeah,
I
really,
think
the same symptoms that they're willing to give you pills to take can be dealt with some people, can be dealt with by just meditation, knowing the self, and understanding your responses and asking for the help you need when you see it. Boy, I don't need a pill for that. I just need to, reach out.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I believe that it's complementary to our path of healing and awaking, because all of my second key today was on energy management, and it's really about self-regulating. and understanding what those triggers are on a neurological condition program. And that the more we become aware of it, I struggled with depression and anxiety as well into my adult life. I think 36, I finally managed it through all of the spiritual tools. But I took medication for a short amount of time. So yeah, I can totally relate. But once I began to open up and use those discernment, manage my energy, I was able to self-regulate and to shed and heal the old wounds and the old paradigms, so I could express and project my energy in a new way, which gives me new experiences, sometimes not so comfortable, but everything I did led me to be that speaker, teacher. I'm still growing, but where I am, it just feels like it's been the tools. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bex, you have some questions.
See, I have the fun questions, the really hard ones. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Here's the first one. If you had to choose a song to be the theme song of your life, and it can be just for right now, what would that be?
I had the time of my life. Patrick Swayze.
Oh, yeah.
My 13, almost 14-year-old daughter has discovered that, and oh no.
How
It's
many
been
times
happening in our house a lot. It's a great
I love
song.
it.
Yeah.
So much fun.
I
Awesome.
just
All right.
how many times you've watched the movie. No.
Yeah. Oh, she watched the movie recently, and she loves it. Loves it. So I have broken her open now. Second question is, what is your favorite crystal right now that you're working with?
Oh, well, welcome to my amethyst. It's right here.
I wore mine in honor of yours, my little one.
It's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome.
I love that.
Thank you.
Amethyst I work with a lot too. I even have some under my pillow when I sleep at night.
Yeah, this is on my nightstand.
I love it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, the third question is, have you ever experienced extra dimensional intelligence, meaning seen UFOs, had visitations, or anything like that?
Yes, actually, dreams when I was very young and incredibly vivid. I also in energy healing, but in energy healing, I often experience outer worldly. They have mutually beneficial roles as the loving light that's out there. And often they show up around people because they're very cosmic or they had this soul life. And often how they show up to me is very alien. Like I'll see little UFOs flying around, or I'll just get this consciousness, almost like a Esther Hicks kind of channeled feeling around them, like a council. Yeah.
That is awesome. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you so much for hanging out today. What an amazing experience we get to have with you.
Before you go, though, we want you to tell everybody where they can find you and also what's coming up soon for you and how people can get in touch with you.
Oh, well, I'm Kirsten Hodgins. So my website, kirstenhodgins.com, simple enough. And my biggest programs is really helping intuitive awakening. I actually call them divine communication. And I also have a whole 3 months or 6 months journey, because after you become conscious, you know how to work with your inner being. You've got this internal awakeness, right? The habits and knowing who you are. We move in, we're very divinely connected. A lot of the people come from, they begin to channel, they begin to trust themselves, they begin to really pull in and have quality of life. They up level their sense of worth. They also begin to trust and hold a higher state of emotions and deservedness to what they expect in this world. And we take them on the journey of awakening and empowerment. So it's intuitive skills, but also awakening empowerment to do exactly what I'm doing. So I support people on being that light, even if it's just in your own family and friends, but many of them journey on, and I support them to get out there and be a light worker.
Because there's not enough of us. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
We're saying, oh, no, we've reached our quota. No.
There is no quota.
There is no quota.
Yeah.
More the better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly.
That's awesome. I mean, every soul is a light worker, honestly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. Awesome. Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you and all that you do and showing up in the world the way that you are.
We'll have to catch up with you again sometime soon. Because, there's
I would
something
love
with
it.
your voice. I just love your voice. I have to say. Yes. it's so Canadian, but no, it is like you could be on Audible. But yeah, it's lovely. You have a
Aw.
lovely-
And
Teresa,
it's
totally
like I've
thrilled.
heard you before.
Well,
Oh,
Teresa, it was nice to meet you. If she pops on later, but it
Yeah.
was wonderful. Thank you so much for, sharing of our energy and the messages today. I really appreciate this. And to all of those who are listening, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
And just one more announcement. We want to thank our two networks that carry our show as well, veryparanormal.com out of the UK. Thank you, veryparanormal.com, and the Breakthrough Show Network, who's carrying us as well. So we're opening up to like just expanding worldwide. We're already
Beautiful.
worldwide. Yay. So we can only share this out so everybody can share this light and this information and up level. It's just awesome. Thank you so much.
And I just have to share the winner real quick. I
Yep.
have to share it out who shared out the most last week. And don't forget to share out this one, guys, because you have a chance of winning. And we'll announce the winner at the end of next week's episode. So the winner of this week's Soul Spa meditation is Anya Daisy Johansson. So congratulations. And we'll be getting that to you as soon as possible. And thank you all so much to all of our viewers. You guys are why we're here. We love hanging out with you guys every Sunday, and this is what we love to do. This is our passion. So thank you for holding space for us to find these amazing guests and be able to share them with you.
Thanks so much. See you next week, guys.
Namaste.
Namaste.